BIC episode number 75. We're going to have fun with a couple of little topics here, play around a little bit of kind of what's been going on in my mind now that I've picked up my grail card. So I'll talk about that for a little bit. And we'll have a little bit of fun with our good friends at Tag. I promise we will not dominate the entire conversation with it, although there was a fun thing, and I will include a link in the description to you with a video, but I want to focus on a very specific element of it. Otherwise, we could definitely do the whole show on it, but I'm not going to. We will resist the urge, we will hold back, and a little bit of restraint will be utilized on this episode of the BIC podcast. I'm invoking it, Eric. I am invoking my full man of peacedom. I'm going full Zen right now. I'm going to resist the urge to give in to my baser instincts, and I'm going to try to hang on here. I'm going to try. Good. So let me lay out the lay of the land here a little bit, and then we'll talk about it for a bit. And like I said, we'll start off with this one, and then we'll talk about another little kind of more conventional collecting topic in a bit. So our good friends at Tag, we've been, I will say a couple of us have been a little bit critical of them over time for a variety of different reasons. Some a little more comedic, and others, I think they stand up to scrutiny. I'll stand on that hill.
Some well deserved.
Yes. But in this case, we're going to focus specifically on a Rattle Pokemon video that was dropped the other day, and I will include a link to it in the description for you. Now, the thing with Rattle Pokemon is that he does a very good job on a lot of aspects of it, although he has become very much in love with his own narrative style. So what I'll recommend to you, I'm going to leave a link to it in the description for you to check out. What I will say is probably the most value you'll get out of it. Now, if you're interested in the whole thing, I think it's about 51 minutes. If you're interested in the whole thing, then by all means, go with God, my son, if that's what you wish to do. However, if you're interested in focusing on the specific part we're going to focus our attention on, you're probably going to want to zoom ahead to maybe about minute 22, 23, somewhere in that range thereabouts. And that'll be focusing on the specific case and the specific instance we're going to be discussing. And what I'm referring to in this case is a video by Dagreenshiz, who's actually a co-host with Professor Oak, who has been in the live stream chat once in a while, and he's a participant of the Discord as well. So a good guy. I'll chat with him a little bit. But his co-host there also does a podcast with him, I think called the Slabbed Podcast, memory serves me. But he actually had a Pokemon card. Now, again, do not know too much about the Pokemon cards. The only thing I know is the cheese Stringamon. That's the only thing that matters to me. It's the only thing I know. But I do know that he had a Pokemon card that apparently is a very valuable piece. Apparently has a whole backstory and everything. So I will try to find the video for you on the specific instance as well so that I can include it and you can check it out as well. So what happened was he had cracked it out and regraded it a couple of different times. Now, one of those instances, he actually, when he cracked it out, he accidentally, and in the video, he gives the story, he accidentally crimped it so that there was an indentation on the side of one of the edges. And unfortunately, it's a visible indentation to the naked eye. So you can see it. So it is visibly there. So he actually did it. So he knows obviously it was there. So what he did is he had cracked it out and he had submitted it. Originally, it was a CGC 9.5. And then I think he sent it over to PSA and I think it got a 9. He went to a couple different graders. Why you keep trying to resubmit it, I don't know. But apparently he was obsessed with trying to get a 10. But just he kept trying to resubmit it. But as soon as he put the little crimping on there, again, visible to the naked eye, what the end result was a CGC 7.5. So obviously, the surface damage was taken into account. CGC accounted for it, and that's CGC 9.5.
So far, that's 3 times this one card has been graded. 3 times.
And I think there might have been one more, but I'm just for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to say 3, but there might have been one more as well.
I don't understand.
But the point is that at this point, it was a CGC 7.5.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, in his infinite wisdom, he decided to crack it out again and send it over to our friends at Tag. So fine. Your business, you do, it's your card, you do with it as you will. It's your money. By the way, you're paying grading fees every single one at the time you're doing this. So,
and shipping, both ways.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I just want to throw this out there to everybody because I know grading has become this glorious thing and the numbers are higher than they've ever been before. And the assumption is that a card in a piece of plastic raises its value. I want to make it known, though, that each time you put it in a different piece of plastic does not mean that it gains value. Like if you grade it 20 times, it doesn't go 20x or anything, because Why in the hell would you even do this? Carry on.
Yes. So again, it is, just to be clear, it is not my place to judge. It is his money. It was his card. He can do as he wishes. No judgment there. But I think we're a little bit of judgment comes into play a little more. No, Eric, I'm going to focus my judgment where it needs to be. The man wants to spend the money on it, by all means. He who has not Reggie Lemon may cast the first stone. Other than that, we're not discussing it. So we're going to leave it be. So he sends it to Tag. He gets the grading submission back. He gets it in his fancy little pack. He's got his little thing in there. So he cracks it open and it comes back a Tag 10. Wait.
He finally got what he wanted.
He finally got his 10. And again, I'm going to emphasize, in the very same video, he acknowledges that he had crimped the edge of it. So he knows it's not a 10. He knows. Wait, hold on. He got his 10. Yes, indeed. He got the 10. Okay. But he knows it's not a 10 because he had literally crimped the surface himself. Like he knows because he literally did it. So fine, whatever. So he acknowledges it in the video. And then I guess Tag catches wind of it because he had made the video and everything. And they decertify it. They turn it off because obviously they were wrong. Fair enough. And I could add more commentary to it. But again, I'm invoking my Zen. I am invoking my man of peacedom right now. So we're sticking to the facts. We're just sticking to the facts right now. So they've decertified it. They've done that, which is their right, obviously. They've clearly made a mistake. Fair enough. And they reached out and asked him to, can we have it back so we can reevaluate it and, make this right, correct this situation. So fine. And I guess he agreed to it, and fair enough, whatever. And from what I understand, I think he got some vouchers or something, like whatever arrangement they made is completely between them. And that's perfectly fine. Now, what I'm going to say, and I could add more judgment here, but again, I'm trying to stick to the facts. Just sticking to the facts right now. So here's the deal. When it comes to that, and Rattle Pokemon discussed this a little bit, it's going to be a little hard to see, but I'll try to share it with you here for a moment if I can. From the Rattle Pokemon video, he does borrow a clip. And like I said, I'll try to include both of these videos in there for you, but I'll try to zoom in a little bit here. So this one is clipped from the video, and this is the card in question. And I don't know if you can tell, there's that little line there. So I don't know if you can see that from my cursor. So you got kind of a little line up and down there. So obviously when you're moving it and the shine goes on top of it, you can see there's something that's a little bit off. Something is breaking, the reflection of the light, so to speak. So you can see it. The point is you can see it. Physically with the naked eye, you can see it. And obviously we're looking at it through a lens. We're looking at it, on a compressed video on YouTube through a lens. So I would assume in person it'd be a little easier to see even still, but even still, he's pointing right at it in the video, citing where the issue is. And again, you can see right there, it's listed as a Gem Mint 10. It's got the tag thing with the little label and everything. Obviously, it's been decertified. So now, this is on the Rattle Pokemon video. So I'm going to share with you a comment. Again, we're sticking to the facts. On the video itself, there is a comment that has been pinned from Tag. And I'm going to read you the entire comment. It's here in its entirety. And then this is on the video in question. So actually, sorry, this was from the original video from the person who submitted it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you Tag's comment from their official YouTube account on this video. Thank you, Josh, for your time speaking today and for agreeing to send this card back to us for further inspection. As we discussed, this outlier case will be a very valuable data point for us to detect, as the defect you pointed out was right on the NHOD threshold. So in brackets, non-human observable defect. And as you noted in the video, it can indeed be seen. So I'm going to pause for 1 second. I'm going to read the rest of this, but I want to pause for a second. Here's some constructive criticism. I'm going to give constructive criticism. As a PR response, I don't need you to inundate me with jargon that belongs in your company's situation. Brandon, Eric, and myself know what you're referring to when you're talking about non-observable non-human observable defects, because we were inundated by this during the Tag commercials on Sports Card Live. So we know what you're talking about. But then there are other people in the comments section who ask, what the heck are you talking about? So then you have to explain it. So here's the constructive criticism. If you are giving this a now public-facing response here, if you have to explain it, it's too complicated. You need to just get to the point, whatever your point is. You don't need to start with the explanations and everything inside of a YouTube comment. You can just say, hey, we made a mistake. Thank you for bringing it back to us so we can look into it and make it right for you. And we will follow up with, we'll make it right and we'll get this corrected for you. Something to that effect. The point is it can be much more streamlined, much shorter, and you get to the point. You don't need to talk about NHODs, and then explain what that is, and then have to do all that. If you have to explain it, it's too complicated. It's not a clear message at that point. But it continues. We've processed many, many cards with similar surface defects that are noted in the dig report. Again, you don't define what the dig report is. We know what that is, but if someone's reading this off the street, they don't know what you're talking about. So again, just something to keep in mind. In fact, the majority of the critical feedback we receive on surface detection is the opposite scenario, where people say tag should be less strict. I don't see it. We pride ourselves in detecting dents that might be missed by other manual grading companies. Pause. Which is ironic, given that it was a completely visible thing that we can see on a process video on YouTube. Just thought I would mention that, but moving on. Again, you shouldn't brag at the same time that you're literally bragging about something that has literally been disproven in the video in question. But fine, moving on. While we aim to never make a mistake, we understand that it's not possible, which is true. It is better to own up to them when they are made. Fair enough. By understanding outlier examples like this, we can continue refining our sensitivities for the overall improvement of the system. I want to pause for a second. This sentence is very interesting. I'm going to come back to it, but I want you to remember what I just read about sensitivities. I'm going to finish this, but we're going to come back to that sentence. As we discussed, the certification has been deactivated pending further inspection. At TAG, we are committed to maintaining integrity and fairness within the hobby. While we're pleased you had a positive overall experience, it's crucial to ensure equitable treatment for all TAG users by acknowledging and correcting any errors. We greatly appreciate all feedback, both positive and negative, as it drives our continuous improvement. Oh, don't worry, I've got feedback for you. Don't worry. I'll give you some feedback. We are truly thankful for your willingness to help us enhance our processes and remain steadfast in our mission to bring accurate and consistent grading to every collector. 3/4 of that was not necessary. You could have cut that out. You could have literally just left it on the cutting room floor. It was not necessary. But let me go back to sensitivities for a second. So already I said the regrading and everything, I question it. Again, your card, your money, you do with as you wish. However, that piece about we can continue refining our sensitivities, that is discussing the idea of, by bringing it back in, it allows you to use this data point to be able to refine and adjust the process specifically in terms of what the system can detect. Now, 2 points of order. Number one, it has already been discussed that TAG is supposed to have like a last human QA. There's supposed to actually be a person who is validating this to make sure that something obvious wasn't missed. Obviously, the person also missed it in this scenario. So just first point of order. Second point of order, and this is something that we've discussed in the live stream. Again, I'm keeping it very man of peace here. Those of you who've seen the live understand how much restraint I am using. Like, I'm almost shaking at my restraint right now. Shaking.
Continue with your restraint.
But the point is that the moment you make any adjustment, any tweak, any slight, be it as infinitesimally small as you might think it is, you have not changed the standard, but you have changed the way in which the system interprets the standard. Any modification to it, in effect, makes it not dissimilar to going to a regular grading company and getting grader B to look at it after grader A missed something. Because even though they're both using the same standard, presumably, they're both seeing things from different perspectives. So it's same standard, but it's being applied differently. A machine can still have that. That doesn't change it. A machine will do what it's programmed to do. But if you make a tweak saying, hey, again, you're adjusting sensitivity, right? Oh, we didn't pick that up. Maybe it wasn't sensitive enough. It didn't capture it. But if you make it more sensitive, then you're going to pick up other things that might not have been the issue that you were looking for. So now you have to refine it and adjust it and tweak it and do this and do that. So all the cards that went through before that did not go under that setup. All the ones that'll go in after are actually going through a slightly different version of the exact same piece of software because you just made some adjustments to it. So I just wanted to mention that as a second point, high level. Okay, so I'm going to stop. Eric, first do you want to give any thoughts on what I just said?
I would just say that we, as a hobby, have given other grading companies a very hard time over the years when they have made changes to their grading standards, or have announced that they're going to, and then the shockwave was so great they just went, oh, just kidding. That would be Beckett, of course. Anytime you adjust your grading standards, you are affecting every single card that came into your possession previously. And that's what was the big thing about Beckett. They were going to make these huge changes and basically devalue all these cards, the millions of cards they've done over the years. Do I think that Tag is going to do the same thing? No, because they're still a new company, and I think there's still some room to try to get it right in their minds. Where Beckett has been around for a generation, and all of a sudden they decide they're going to make a change. No, the hell you're not, because hobbyist A has spent $50,000 over the last 10 years getting their cards graded, and with that standard, and a 7 is a 7, and an 8 is an 8, and a 9 is a 9, and a 10 is a 10, and all of a sudden you're going to change that. Well, you just devalued everything I've done in the last decade, and all this business I did with you, and all this support I gave to you. So there was shockwaves. That legacy is not there yet with Tag. I don't see there being a shockwave of people going, oh, wait a minute. You just devalued my stuff. Because I don't think there's enough stuff out there to be devalued yet.
So on this point, I agree with you. However, I'm glad you brought up decade, because
yes,
as we are well aware, of the discussion points about this is that the process, the technology, the elements of it have been in development for a decade. So even though the company itself kind of opened for business, so to speak, publicly not that long ago,
yeah,
presumably they have been working on this and refining it, and presumably doing, I assume, based on their own discussion points, research, development, testing, all these things over the course of a 10-year period, which to me is a fairly decent amount of time to do some testing, to do some iterations, to find flaws and adjust those flaws. And if at this stage, 10 plus years of development, we are not able to detect an indentation on the surface of a shiny card that can be seen with the naked eye, what else have you missed after 10 years plus?
Yeah. And I when they say 10, and I agree with you. Number one, I agree. Two, when they say 10 years, I do question, is that every day for 10 years working on the technology? Or is it 10 years of trying to just build a company and, figure out where you're going to get, what Chinese factory you're going to get your plastics from? And the other thing I would think about is, do you want the iPhone in your pocket from 10 years ago? Technology has changed in 10 years. So even if they worked on technology for 10 years straight, 10 years ago when they started, that stuff is obsolete. So, they're going to continue to change. If they're going to base their entire company on technology, technology is always changing. That's why there's an iPhone 1 and an iPhone 15.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. Now, before I let Brandon in here, because I want to get his take on it, obviously he's got some background because he did a live stream with the founder as well, so we can touch on that a little bit as well. I do want to kind of point out, though, that the reason I bring up the 10 years is we didn't know about that until it was given to us. That information. So, to your point, whether they're working on it every day or whether it was just operating the company, the implication is that they have been working at this for a long time. That is not us. Yeah. We did not put that on them.
Right.
It was presented this way. The same way that it was presented, that they had tens of thousands of cards in their possession that presumably, again, I'm not the one coming up with that.
That is true.
This is information that has been presented. So I can only take at face value what I'm being given. So how much of it is marketing to try to make it sound more credible, even though the company's new, versus what the reality is. Maybe they threw it together at the last possible minute and it's still in version 2. I don't have the answer to that. I don't know. The problem is I have to take at face value what you said. What you said many times in that early phase, I have to start with that. Now, if you're telling me that's wrong, or if you're telling me that's not true, we're off to a bad start because you're literally lying to me to start. Right. That's first. And then second, on top of it, you also told me that there was a human QA element where a person would
Right.
double check just to make sure, especially in the early days, to
Right.
make sure that this is, hey, if we miss something obvious, we want to make sure we catch it so we can put it back through to make that correction on the fly.
Right.
Well, that we're still in that phase from what I understand. I don't believe that's changed yet. So it means the person missed it too. So
Well,
did a person actually look at it? Is my question.
I mean,
and I don't know the answer to that.
Take a look at just grading in general, which is all, unless you're HGA, of course, which is all human interactions, and how many problems that, the hobby has had with every grading company over humans looking at cards and things that they missed. And just your story alone with Beckett sums everything up.
Industry leader, Beckett. Industry leader, BGS, of course.
And that's all human. So humans suck. They're gonna make mistakes. The whole point of tag is to try to get humans out of it so it won't suck. And
the machine's the one who made the mistake. The humans caught it.
The
humans caught it.
Not only did the machine miss this, there again, like at every grading company, there was massive human error.
And
which is why
humans do program machines. So
I understand. I understand that. Okay. For now, they program soon. They will program themselves.
We'll get to the T1000 later.
Yeah, exactly.
Brandon, I want you to chime in here. Obviously, you've got the background on it previously, but you've had a chance to kind of hear our opening piece. Please give us some thoughts.
So I'm gonna first, Eric, cue it up. To be fair.
To be fair,
none of the grading companies are perfect. So I'm gonna lead in with that. Okay.
So we
I'm
agree.
not sitting here
Excellent.
saying that SGC is perfect or PSA or Beckett or none of them. None of them are perfect. They all make mistakes. So I'm going to go with that to start.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Listen, he didn't say anything about KSA. As far as I'm concerned, they've never aired ever.
No.
My biggest issue, and we were discussing this pre-show, this company right out of the gate has been this circus where they are trying to push this narrative, sell you this wonderful, glorious, amazing, transparent, accurate product. And it just continuously seems to go further and further and further backwards from what they claimed that it actually was. I'm going to go to something that was brought up during the live stream with Steve. That's been over a year now. And a hobby friend, Discord member, Andy, sports card investigator, and his Gronkowski Prism that, if memory serves me, was a 5.
Yep.
And we had the dig report and all of this, and nobody. It was like, what, 4 people? I can't even remember how many people was there, but nobody had an answer. Andy had the card in hand, couldn't see a defect. Now you have the opposite. You have a card in a 10 with a clearly visible defect, and it's another excuse. Now, again, shit happens, all right? It's grading. This is another example and another reason why the value put upon grading really needs to be thought about more, because whether it's human or computers, shit happens, right? And to have confidence in the companies, let's face it, you should really be putting putting more faith in the companies that have been doing it for longer, whether they're making the mistakes or not. They are more experienced, and I don't care if these people are telling you that they've been working on this shit for 10 years. They obviously should have never rolled it out because there's been too many issues. 10 years wasn't long enough, obviously. To your points of tweaking, you know, who knows what the tweaks are? We don't know if every hour they have to go in and tweak something. I worked in manufacturing. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of CNC machines or any of that stuff, but in manufacturing, there is a lot of robotics. There is a lot of automated machinery that goes into building things. And guess what? Damn near every single day, you will have machines have failures or, you know, not do something according to how it was programmed. And that's why there is QA checks every, 10% or whatever the company chooses for particular parts. And even with those QA checks, in many cases, bad parts get out. All right. Because that's the human element and the people not giving a shit about their job, whether they're underpaid or unqualified or whatever. It's feeling the same thing here. It's like, but the part that is most concerning to me is, and props to whoever the owner of the card was for sharing it all. But what if he hadn't shared it? What if he didn't document that it was once a CGC 7.5 or whatever? What if he didn't admit that he actually had done the damage? Well, then you have a card in a 10 out on the market that just is what it is. And that's where the question comes in, because I'm sure there is lots of those where the person didn't record it or didn't admit that the card had damage and they get it back and it's a 10. Now, this particular card, there's questions that I have of whether or not things that might have been missed, and it's all to the technology. It looked like the card was a full, like hollow, shiny surface to it. I know they use a lot of lights and stuff like that in the cameras and everything. Maybe it was getting a reflection, didn't see that spot. Maybe it wasn't visible on a flat surface. Who knows? But to Carlos's point, why in the hell constantly are they? I applaud trying to own up to a mistake. I applaud that. But it is video after video after video after video after video after video. They're up in comments or posts or whatever, giving bullshit excuses all the time. And if they're not doing it, their army of bots or whoever the hell it is doing it. And that is where the company looks like clowns. And I am saying it, you look like clowns, because own up to it. Just say simply, hey, we apologize for this mistake. We are going to be contacting you to get this taken care of. And I will also say, for a company to only offer credits or vouchers or whatever, that's a little bit BS-ish too, because most of the companies out there, and I'm not going to say all of them, they all handle things different ways, but they would credit you the value or better of the card. Now, this gentleman admitted he made the mistake and that what the card previously was graded. But I can tell you that many of the companies out there would, if they take that card back and they regrade it down to the 7.5 or whatever it was to, they would compensate for the difference in value, because they would stand behind the grade that they actually put on the slab the first time. Not say, oh, this outlier example, we have to go tweak some shit. We'll give you 10, 15, how many, I don't even know how many it was, vouchers to give us another shot and try us again. How about we see if we can screw up on another card of yours? No, they would.
Well, listen, I'm hung up on the fact, and Eric, remember, as you may recall, I believe part of the marketing copy was because it is the machines and it is consistency. You should be able to submit it multiple times and get the same results. So as far as I'm concerned, Eric, after they reevaluate, it should get a tag 10 again.
Well, was
Again,
it within 3 points or something like that on the 1,000
but it's
point
within
scale?
3 points on the 1,000. So I'm sorry, it's
Yep.
still a tag 10.
I
Let's
just
go.
want to point out, and and we've been lax to not mention this, that it is the opinion of many hobbyists, this one included, that if you were to get a card back from a grading company with a higher grade than the card deserves, one would be, say, an ass if they were to notify the grading company and say, hey, I think you overgraded this. I think I would think it would,
you missed something.
Yeah, I think,
and it does happen.
Yeah,
Shockingly, it does happen.
I just think, for someone to do that, this guy we're talking about who showed tag, hey, you gave me a 10. Clearly, it isn't. I've never met the man, and maybe he's a nice guy, but to me, tongue in cheek, of course, he sounds like an ass.
Listen,
Well,
as
in
far as
his
I'm
defense,
concerned,
though, he didn't have any choice because they deactivated his shit.
yeah, as I say, they deactivated once he opened his trap. He should have said nothing. He could have kept his 10 and lived in blissful ignorance, knowing full well. I got away with it. I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for that metal YouTube.
Yeah.
It's like, you did it to yourself.
Well, anyways, Brandon's still an ass is what it comes down to. That's all I really want to say.
Listen, the point is, I'm just saying, anybody who would do such a thing, like, they should be like on a watch list somewhere. Like, these people need to be kept an eye on. Like,
I've even heard they should be sued, even though that
bad,
their customers got more money than their cards were worth. They should sue the person.
I would
Makes
agree.
perfect sense, right?
I am all in on that.
Listen, as far as I'm concerned, at that point, you send in the SGC and you try to get everything damaged and overgraded. Like, I want free cash payouts, SGC Pete. Let's go. How many checks you got, Pete? How many checks you got? You're not giving me my velvet bag service. You can at least give me some cash, bro. Give me some cash.
But no, in all seriousness, like, I want to rewind back to when I used to do the videos, and I was critical of them after a bit. In the beginning, I was intrigued. I wanted to see what they were capable of. I didn't watch the 6, 8, 20, whatever part series it was.
I think it's still continuing to this very day, as far as I'm aware. I think they run.
Well, I didn't watch any of that. Okay, well, let me rephrase. I didn't watch all of that.
This is me being nice,
Carlos.
But I was intrigued at what was being presented to the hobby, what was being claimed by this company. And I wanted to see, especially after they said PSA should watch out because Tag's going to eat their lunch. One of their
well, in fairness, that was one of their commenters.
One of their supporters.
Still around from time to time. Yes. An enthusiastic zealot, if you will.
I was intrigued. And that's when I started looking at things. But then it kept feeling like Rattle was nice saying things were fishy or smelled fishy, however you put it. No, it is complete and total utter bullshit. Like, there is no fish involved. It is straight cow patty turd bullshit.
Wow.
Like, that is all they have been feeding people. And that is very, it's sad for them, honestly, because again, I'm going to use the term clown show, and that's what it is. It's been presented as.
It's not.
Like, it just keeps going backwards, and they're going to realize that they're going to start like even further contradicting the own shit they say, because you're going to start running circles. Like, they're just going to start running circles with the things they're saying, and it's going to catch up to them. So Rattle made, I said it before we started recording, he made the number one point, I think, of this entire video. If you are literally submitting cards to them right now, you are the guinea pig, the test dummies, whatever. They just admitted that they're still tweaking things, and they're using your cards to figure out how to run their system.
That is what the comment said. That's why I wanted to make sure we did read that comment. It was included in there, and that little piece of information, it's almost like you shared too much. In reality, it would probably have been enough. Like, I'm being serious. It probably would have been enough to say, we definitely made a mistake here. Please send it in to us.
Reach out.
We will
Yep.
make it right. We will look into it. We will get this fixed for you. Full stop, Eric. Full stop. Period. End of conversation. End of sentence. At least for the public discourse, you can stop now.
Look at the LeBron with SGC, and that's kind of. And I'm not trying to compare the two or even the cards on the same levels, but the SGC LeBron that was blown up in the forums and everything, and it was, I guess, tracked back to where there was proof of it being patch swapped.
Mhm.
And look at the way they presented that. They reviewed what happened, what was going on. They looked at information, compared data, notes, all of that stuff. Made a public post saying, "Look, we screwed up," but everything between company and, I guess, submitter or whoever basically was pretty much private. They handled that on their own behalf, but there was a public public mention of it, that it was corrected. We made a mistake. They owned up to it. That's all you got to do. You don't need this scientific display of bullshit on somebody's YouTube comments to try to dig yourself out of a hole. You screwed up. It's simple. Just admit, we screwed up. Can you please send it back? We're going to deactivate the cert. We'll get it fixed and we'll compensate you properly. Boom. Leave it at that.
There you go. So alas, the takeaway then is, do not be a guinea pig. For now, at least until the evidence has come in, you can stick with known quantities. Known quantities like AMG Collectibles and AMGcollectibles.ca, because we know who they are. And we know that coming up, we're recording this on Monday, but it'll be dropping on Tuesday. And later on Tuesday, there will be an AMG Collectibles podcast episode. We know this because that is what happens. And on this particular episode, there will be stuff that came in the shop. There will be some new products that we'll talk about. We will get a conclusion to the SP Game Used Golf drama, because something that was pulled in the shop actually relates to the last episode, if you listen to the last episode. And I will mention exactly how that comes into play. And we may be graced with an artiste. So there may be some discussions that happen in relation to that. So I've got a couple of things that I'll have to prepare for myself for, and that'll be coming up on this week's episode. But you can check out amgcollectibles.ca. We thank AMG Collectibles for supporting this podcast and the channel.
We do thank them. They're wonderful.
Pretty good. Pretty good. So thank you, Brandon. We appreciate your expertise. Eric, we appreciate your providing the alternative. And I appreciate me for my incredible restraint. And also,
You did okay.
it is not your fault. It's okay. Y'all get that movie reference. Come on. Y'all get that movie reference. Work with me on this one. Anyway, we'll move on. By the way, those of you who watch the live should be like super impressed right now. Super impressed. Moving on.
You're doing okay. That's it. Move on. I'm proud of you. Just let's go.
I've got so many things I'll say on Friday. Okay, moving on. Anyway, so one thing that I did want to mention is kind of a follow-up to the video that I did about the 90s Grail card that I picked up. So I did the video where I got a chance to go through it, went through some of the other ones that were on there. And one of the things that allowed me to do is kind of a chance to sit back. I did mention in the video that in getting that card, that 96-97 run for the Cup, Medano, for that collection, one of the things it did is it kind of allowed me to sit back and reevaluate. I actually got a chance to really sit over the weekend, sit with it, look at the cards kind of all together. That's the reason why I brought up the other cards and put them all together, because those are ones that have been kind of the tier one, ones that I've been chasing for the longest time. That was like the last big one that I'd been chasing for the longest time. There are some other tougher ones still on that checklist, but that checklist is getting very narrow. It's getting very tight. So it gave me kind of a good excuse to kind of, and this is something I would recommend for you guys who have been collecting a long time, gave me an excuse to really go back through that checklist, really go through it with a fine-tooth comb again and kind of resort and reorient things and kind of decide what I wanted to do next, which is to say that I'm still going to keep collecting the players and sets and things that I'm working on, but I wanted to kind of reprioritize things and really think about where things sat. And one of the things that I thought about is that I wanted to focus my attention on certain specific categories. Still going to pick up my Medano cards, but for the most part, I'd like to, with the odd pickup here and there, and I picked up one earlier today that was a nice one, but for the most part, I would like to focus a little bit more on some kind of whale hunting. That's kind of the direction that I'm thinking of looking into, rather than pick up a ton of like nice cards or like kind of intermediate pieces. There's certain specific bigger items that I kind of want to hunt down and fish and pick up. And that includes in the Medano and some of the player collections, but it also includes really putting an emphasis and focus on that 53 Bowman color set. It's stuff like that. It's just wanting to put my attention on certain specific things for the rest of the summer and into the fall so that I could really see some progress on those. And that was kind of it was a nice opportunity to kind of take a quick pause and do a little reset and kind of see where I wanted to go with it. Because the Medano collection hasn't exactly plateaued, but at the same time, it's like, it feels kind of downhill from here because some of the other ones, as I said, they're tough, but at the same time, they'll come up when they come up. I really don't have too much control over them. I don't have the constant, save search because now I was able to do something that I hadn't done in almost 4 years. I was able to remove save searches from my eBay. It was actually really fun to be able to click on it. It's like, I don't need the save search for this anymore because I got it. I had 3 or 4 different phrased save searches for this one card. So I was able to remove them all at the same time because I have the card in hand. So it's kind of a fun thing. So it was interesting. In some ways, it was the end of an era because it changes the complexion of the way I target and shoot after things on the checklist. So I'm kind of curious if you guys have had a couple of inflection points. I know Brandon's talked about it when he reevaluated things that made him happy, things he enjoyed. So there's been that. I assume Eric that it was just about focusing on the Boston Bruins. There's the Reggie Lemons. You've got that, and maybe the big epiphany was realizing, wait, I can put the Reggie cards on the left side of me instead of just on the right, and it was a game changer.
Yeah,
changed your life.
Yeah,
could have been wild like that. I don't know if you were really to go that kind of crazy, but could have been wild.
Yeah, it's right here. It's sitting over here on the left.
See, Brandon,
he nailed it.
I got this.
Yeah.
Life changing. Think about it. Life changing.
Got 3 Bruins on this one. You got Andy Moog, Reggie Lemlin, Manny Fernandez. Plus you have Jocelyn Thibault, Ron Hextall, and Kirk McLean.
Yep. So let me ask you. So in all seriousness, was there any acquisition that kind of caused you to take any kind of a reset and kind of take a specific acquisition where it's like, when you got this, it's like, yeah, that's one of the things that I really wanted to get, and now I've got it. And it's like you kind of sit back and take a little pause. I took the weekend to really sit down and kind of stew on it, sort through a couple of the boxes, and really kind of look through everything. That's what I did. It's like it gave me a chance to kind of sit down and look at it. And again, I literally got a chance to go through the checklist fully, like really look at it again for the first time in a while, just to really see, all right, so what is left? What do I have in front? What is the task that still stands before me?
Yeah, you collect a lot of things also. I mean, we were talking earlier, like you even maybe will collect records or something. You're a collector, just like I think, we all are. You look around, Brandon's office, there's all sorts of different things there. We collect different things. So when it comes to my collection, I don't just collect one thing, 2 things, 3 things. I can jump around at any time, or I could come up with a new way to do it. Yannick picked up many 1969-70 cards autographed for me up at the expo last month. So I'll be adding to that. I'm excited about that. But there's so many different directions I can go with. If I were to get bored for some reason with collecting 69-70, I could just focus on Ray Bork stuff. I could focus on Cam Neely stuff. I could focus on, just collecting Bruins goalie rookie cards.
Hal Gill.
Hal Gill, So I have so many different options, and I ebb and flow, and I'll focus on something for a while. Then I'll say, all right, well, I've done enough of that. And then I'll go off to something else. Right now, my interest is trying to get the Bruins team set from 54-55. I want to see if I can get the team set, from that. So, I'll be looking at shows and looking online and finding ones that are in, that are in my price range. And, that's kind of a new thing that I'm excited about. But I don't just have one or two things that I need to step back and, take a look at. I've been collecting since 1988, and there's just so much.
Mhm.
I could just go and start collecting hockey pucks.
It is true. It is true. Like I said, the main reason I brought it up is that it is nice to have these little. To your point, yes, you can flip between one and the other, and I've done that. I've done that a number of different times. This one was just interesting because I had been in that one specific silo. I had been really keyed in on focused on these specific ones, and I've been slowly scratching the top, not the whole checklist, because there's still, if we're just talking the Medano checklist, I've still got thousands of cards I can chase. That's not an issue. But I'm talking about late 90s, a very specific subset, and that list kept dwindling. And stuff that was at the very top of the food chain kept dwindling. I kept scratching these, the number 2 off the list, the number 3 off the list. And that one sat, the run for the cup sat as the number 1 on that side of the checklist. The other ones are there. There's some rare ones left that I see on that checklist, but they're very clearly in a tier 2. They're a tier behind that. And if they come up, I'll go after them. But it kind of led me down thinking like, how did I want to deploy my energies and my funds and things like that? And I thought I really enjoyed getting that Emblems of Endorsement card. That was a nice piece. It's a bigger piece. Stuff like that, though, is easier if you've already set aside the funds for a bigger item, as opposed to $10, $20 items. Maybe sit back and look for a nicer $100 piece. It's the same result. You're still picking up stuff for the collector. You're still spending the same amount, but just looking for some bigger items. And like I said, winding down the 53 Bowman color set because I'm now slowly approaching the downside of that. I'm past 50%. But the cards that I've got are all the big guys. I've got the Mantle. I got the Pee Wee Reese. I've got all the top guys in that set. What's left are some stars from the era, but not the guys that are on the same tier, not on the same level. So it's actually moving downhill. The strategy of collecting a vintage set where you pick up the key cards first means that you're actually tackling commons and those, so you can start grabbing them in small stacks and really start whittling down that checklist. And that's one of the things that I kind of want to put some focus on and really put a dent into that checklist. Any thoughts, Brandon? Just kind of musing some thoughts I've had this past weekend.
So, yeah, I believe if I understood correctly, have we had any like epiphanies that made us?
Yeah, or a specific acquisition as well,
or,
like a specific item that really made you take pause and think like, "Hey,
right,
let me look around and see what I'm doing here."
Right. I would actually say, and I'm going in a different direction here because you were mentioning the dollar amount and everything else, and I think I actually kind of reversed myself. And to some, what I'm going to speak on may reflect way differently. But when I bought this earlier this year, when I got the Superfractor Michael Taylor, that kind of, I think this set off the refocus for me and gave me that card coming in. It actually, before it even came in, before I even bought it, I was on live with you guys and Bobby was talking about it and everything too. And I think y'all could probably sense the excitement that I even just seen the card on eBay because I wasn't expecting it to be there, and it's that excitement that that's what collecting is about, really. I mean, getting that joy, that happiness, that excitement, that adrenaline rush that you found something, right?
Yeah.
For me, I know y'all joke with me all the time about my Robertsons and stuff, but I really have only bought one Robertson since I'm pretty sure since I got the Cup RPA. And that kind of solidified, I got the Young Gun, I have the Future Watch, and I have the Cup RPA, and I didn't think I was ever going to get the Cup. So But overall, I think when I've looked back since getting the Taylor, there's something else that's occurred to me is there's so many cards out there today, especially on the newer products. And if you're looking at the current players in the market, and I'll use Robertson as an example, or Wyatt Johnston because I mentioned him. I'll be honest, I went on looking at Wyatt Johnston cards, and none of them like stood out to me that I was like, oh, that's a cool card. I would like to get that. And I kind of reflected on I don't really care if a card is a rookie or anything. We were kind of talking about the Wembayama thing last week. I've realized I don't. I'm not putting an emphasis on needing a rookie or needing a rookie auto or whatever. I want to get the cards that I like. Like the photo is something, or the design of the card is cool, or a moment for the player, or maybe a cool patch that's in it, something to that effect. And so when it boils down to like looking at, you mentioned the checklist thing and building the checklist off, I'm not really going after that anymore. I'm kind of looking for players and then going from those players and looking at what cards are available and maybe pulling pieces from that I like. I was looking for Wyatt, because he's having a hell of a playoff series, and I have like one card of his, I believe. And no offense to any Upper Deck employees that may possibly watch this podcast, but I think all of Wyatt Johnston's rookie cards suck. Like, I didn't like the look of them. And so I haven't bought any. And that's just my personal opinion. Some people may love them. But yeah, I mean, I guess to not long wind any further, picking up the Taylor, that definitely refocused me. And I'll be completely honest, we're sitting here on May 13th right now. Doing so and getting that excitement and realizing again what I just have fun and enjoy in cards, not buying the Ruths and all of that stuff. That was cool. That was, it was exciting. And it was shit I never thought would happen. But it wasn't what the fun, like you have to have fun in this, or you just it's spending money,
Fun,
and
scandalous. What
That's
is
not love.
fun?
I put
No.
it this way: I've bought more cards this year already than I did all of last year, and it's not anything big. I've kind of shared some of them. Nothing big, so the dollar amount's not mattering. It's stuff that I just personally thought was cool. So I guess I'm kind of going a different route. You're looking for a whale. I'm looking for those fun pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I think, though, to be clear, in this situation, I think we're both seeking out the same thing, but in different ways. It's not that there aren't fun pieces that are less expensive, is that I really want some showcase pieces to add to what I've already got.
Right.
Because at this point, I have 2,600 cards. I've got base, I've got inserts, I've got parallels. Like there's plenty of all the above that I've already got. But adding the emblem of endorsement, being now one away from having the run of the emblem of endorsement, that's the kind of thing that is interesting to me, because the cup has obviously got some really nice cards in it. So it's one of those things where I like the idea of maybe having a couple of runs of those. That'd be kind of cool. And when I'm talking about whales, here's another one. I'm doing that 57 Topps Packers team set.
Right.
The last card is the Bart Starr. So maybe instead of buying a bunch of smaller cards, because I just need the one. I've completed the rest
Josh
of the team set.
Rosen get Bart Starr. I get
Yeah. As hard as it is, I may have to sacrifice some of the chosen Rosens and maybe allocate those funds to getting the Bart Starr to complete the team set. Stuff like that.
I'll say some of, like, obviously Taylor and Robles. This is a funny story on the Robles. I don't think I've shared this one. I met Victor Robles when he was in single A, and I have the card with me and my kids and everything. It's my favorite card in my collection. I was such a cheap ass, and this goes back to pre-buying Babe Ruths and stuff. I would never buy a Robles Bowman auto. I wouldn't do it. They were too expensive. And so my first one, I went for the Gusto and I got the gold. And not only is the gold refractor, but it's the jersey number, which is something that I try to do fun with my tailors. Is I've worked on not only the rainbow, but I've worked on the jersey number rainbow because it makes it a little bit more difficult and a little added piece of fun. But even though I don't collect like the top tier guys, I have noticed recently that somebody has been buying Michael Taylor stuff. I don't know why, who, or when this person started, but they need to stop because there's been stuff I've had on my watch list that is starting to get bought, and I'm like, who in the hell decided they want to start buying Michael Taylor? So Eric,
Michael Taylor does.
I have my suspicion.
No, I could ask his wife. I doubt that. But no, it was like it's been funny. There's been a couple pieces. It's nothing significant that I'm like too sad about, except there was a bat knob that I wished I had seen on there. I missed it, and the person got a great deal. If it ever pops up again, I would pay more. But
Listen, Eric would throw wads of cash at children to get those Michael Taylors.
I
That's
need
the
them.
Throwback to Friday. That's the Throwback to Friday.
somebody's
you know,
buying
you know.
him though. I mean,
If you know, you know.
Tell me again what sport he plays. I forget.
I'm sure he's seen a hockey game
cyclocross.
before. I'm sure he's seen it.
Oh,
If it was cyclocross, you'd be all over it.
If cyclocross, I would definitely be all over.
All right, so who wants to make Upper Deck mad at us just for fun? Because I do
I'll
have
go.
one thing that we can finish up on. We have a little fun with it here, just to wind down. It's been a good episode. We wanted to have a little
I
fun
already
with it.
said the Wyatt Johnstons all suck. Like
We can do better. We can do better. We got more.
okay, well, we can do better.
Yeah,
We can do better.
because the first renders have been revealed of 2024-2025 Upper Deck flagship.
Already? It feels like we were just
Yes!
talking about freaking Bedard.
Yes, we have. We have. And I will include a link in the description to Beckett.com, Eric's favorite website,
Ooh.
that has the early
Hashtag not
renders,
sponsored.
the breakdown. They've got the components of it. Oh, by the way, a lot of what you expect. It's flagship. You're going to see a lot of the same stuff you expect. However, there were a handful of things that I think might be worthwhile taking a moment to take a quick peek at. So I've got it here on the website. I saw it earlier. I saw it the other day, and I thought it'd be worthwhile to have a little fun with in case we had a little time at the end. Okay, so I'm starting here. This is Outburst. You've already seen this. So nothing unusual here. This is the new design. So just so you can see it. And in terms of parallels and stuff, you got the usual stuff. You got Silver Outbursts, Clear Cut, Deluxe, Exclusives, Red Outbursts, High Gloss out of 10, and Gold Outburst 1 of 1. Very similar to the most recent flagship release. Nothing too crazy. And even the design itself, like you can see the section on the bottom, they didn't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, it's very similar.
It is.
That,
No, like
that was my first thought.
And like I said, they did not reinvent the wheel out here. I'm just letting you know. I'm just showing you. However, the next subsection, if you look at the bottom, it says familiar and refreshed inserts. So let me get into this for a second.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
So they've decided to go back to the well of the Young Guns, and specifically artistic Young Guns. So these are what they call, so they're taking the Young Guns renewed. They take some of the top Young Guns of all time and give them a colorful twist. Luke, the Cardist, that is the name, Luke, the Cardist, has reworked the backgrounds, creating something new and vibrant. You have an exclusive version out of 100, high gloss out of 10, and printing plate 1 of 1s that are also randomly inserted. And now on the screen, you are seeing a colorized Ovi with stuff going on in the background and things. And
Can I
stuff.
say I don't hate it?
Eric loves it. I think Eric can barely hold back his excitement.
No, it's not obviously not a rookie, but
No, it's not.
and I get what's going on in the background because it's got the eagle for the caps, like the other logo they have. It's got the claw holding the 8. Like I kind of get what's going on there. Obviously being not far from DC, but it's different. It's not. I don't hate it.
Upper
It's
Deck.
more fodder to fill the packs, but I don't hate it.
Upper Deck went to this cardist and said, "Hey, make me something ugly like Kabooms, so we could put in that
Wow.
product."
Wow.
went-
Luke the Cardus is weeping right now.
and he
Weeping.
went, okay, I'll do something just as bad as Kaboom's,
Speaking of which,
and people are gonna love them.
Wow. Wow. So anyway, one thing that I do know from the little brief write-up that I did read, this was the one that I wanted to focus on because I thought there would be some opinions. So I will tell you that from what I understand, they've taken, like when they say young guns of all time, apparently they're taking different, I don't know the full obviously we don't know the checklist yet. This literally just came out. So we don't have a checklist fully yet. Usually you don't get a checklist until very close to release, which is all the way in October. So this is well in advance. But we do have these mock-ups, which is kind of fun to have a little bit of fun with. From what I understand, they're taking different young guns throughout the course of history up until 2013-14. So whatever's going to be in that checklist, you can do a little bit of figuring out. Now, 13-14 doesn't cover Connor McDavid, but it does cover Sidney Crosby and obviously Ovechkin, for example. So, and it does leave room for other young guns that filled in between. So just bear that in mind. So this is just one example of a number of them. So Luke the Cardist. So they've got a bunch of them with the variants. Dazzler here, it's pretty similar to the last couple of Dazzlers. Nothing too special here. I think this is kind of boring myself, so nothing too crazy. And even UD Portraits. Look, they let us down. What is this? This is UD Portraits now.
yeah, I mean, where's the cool suit?
Yeah, this, as far as I'm concerned, this is Eric's doing. He complains so much about UD Portraits. They're like, fine, we'll put the body in some boxes. Here you go, Eric.
Or
Have some vanilla.
Got torn
That's
apart.
Not even vanilla. Sugarless, sugar-free, nothing.
I think that's a lot better.
Well, I hope you're happy, Eric, because now it's incredibly boring. It's a bunch of boxes.
Oh, wait, they got pop counts. I wonder if there's duplicates of all of them.
Oh, there will, but I've got one more. So I showed you Luke the Cardist. Let's do one more.
Oh God.
Gaming
XP inserts. Yes.
I don't know what
You
that
got
is.
Inspiration from video games?
Yeah, literally from video games. Yes, 100%.
Do something with it.
No, it's just it's just XP.
Oh,
So
I just didn't know. All right, I just
That
didn't know
doesn't
if
give
it
me
was,
a video game vibe.
like a, like
well,
a
XP,
game.
XP is a video game. Is video game.
Yeah,
term.
but that's boring.
Like if you had.
I didn't say it was good, Brandon. I just said they
The
did.
Dazzlers is better.
I just said they did it. That's all I said.
See, what they should do is, and this is what I thought maybe they were doing, is get involved with that NHL, video game that they have, and you put these XP cards in there with the code on them. Then you can go into the video game, type in the code, and now your player's got better skills and he's faster and hotter slap shot and all that.
Or you could just have a piece of cardboard that's broken down into 4 different subcategories.
Yeah, I don't like that one.
You got co-op, FOP, PvP, and XP. Speckle version, blue version, green version, and gold.
Love that.
They're using that's Call of Duty stuff.
Yeah, it is. Literally, it's video game inspired. Yes, all those are video game
Call of
terms that
Duty
are being
stuff.
used as part of the checklist.
I just got a special delivery. It's not as special as I had hoped. My daughter is evil.
Oh.
Got the crumble cookie box. Is it empty? It's totally empty.
Oh.
So I
I
thought
didn't even know they made boxes that size.
I thought
for like a cookie. I think if you go to the store and get a cookie, I think that would give it to you, that box.
I thought she was sliding one in with a cookie in it, and she's already eaten the cookie.
She's giving you a box so you can know what it would have been like before the cookie was devoured.
It still has the cookie smell in it, though.
Be honest, you were like,
yeah, you really could. There is definitely the scent of cookie still in there.
So you remember earlier where I said it's not your fault. It's not, Eric, it is your fault.
Yeah.
You raised your children to do this to you.
Yes, it's not good.
It is very much your fault. Could not be more your fault if we tried.
Yeah. So we got something from our sponsors, but the box is empty.
Yes. So you can all look forward to. I will leave a link in the description if you do want to see those mock-ups at early start. Like it's way early. Like they're literally not releasing that until the fall. But we got the mock-ups, so we at least got a chance to see a couple of the potential cards that are coming out of it. So that is a real thing. That is from the Beckett site, included with the breakdown of some of the inserts and stuff. We'll talk more about it obviously when we get closer to it. Not exactly auspicious. I got to be honest. It's like, this is the first year. This will be the first set post Bedard for flagship, and it shows.
Yeah.
So we got XP. We got Young Guns renewed, reimagined. Yes. Luke the Cardist.
Oh God. Kaboom!
Well, as far as I can tell, it doesn't have the shine of a kaboom, but it's got the effort. So yes, we'll discuss more down the road, but I thought I would kind of conclude on that. So I want to thank everybody for checking this one out. It's a shorter episode because we just wanted to keep it pretty simple. I did have a little fun, like I said, with the collecting thing this past weekend. I also want to thank everybody who supported some of the videos on the channel this past couple of weeks, especially. So it's been a good run of those. Like I said, right now it's a little bit quiet. I did think about talking a little bit more depth about the whole Jeff Wilson and Card Collector 2 and the Fanatics thing, but I want to let it play out a little bit more. I will say, though, if you are curious, if I can find the link, I'll include it. In today's video, Sports Card Radio did reference that vaguely from the perspective of Fanatics and the dealers who are kind of sucking up the Fanatics. And I will say this, if you're familiar with Sports Card Radio's work, this one stands out a little bit because the thesis itself is straightforward. It's very similar to the message they've given in the past. However, one of the brothers did go to Burbank Cards and actually talk to Rob Veras of Burbank Cards. And he was physically there, and they had a conversation. A clip was shown in the video. It's like an 8-minute video. But in the video, he did have a conversation with him where he was talking about the whole idea of distribution and that Burbank is designed as a shop where they don't necessarily care about distribution. Like if Fanatics isn't happy with them or whatever and cuts off their distribution, they're designed as a shop that can operate on singles, and they've got their online robust presence. So they're a little bit, Rob Veras literally is like, we're kind of Fanatics proof, eBay proof. We're designed to not really necessarily be worrying about one specific entity in the space, as opposed to Cards HQ and some of these other ones that may become very dependent on what Fanatics decides to do with their allocation, especially with the breaking side of things, because Burbank doesn't have a breaking arm, but Card Collector 2 does. And Cards HQ has breaking cabanas. So they're leaning very hard in that side of it, and they're going to need that allocation. So that's very important to their business model as opposed to a Burbank. So that's why I said, I think the contrast might be interesting too. It's only like an 8-minute video. I think the general thesis of it, I think, was interesting. And it follows a lot of very similar to some of the points I was making when I was comparing the Card Collector 2 and Geoff thing, where they're kind of looking at it in this very different perspective than a lot of normal card shops. I will finish with this thought that I mentioned already. Maybe I'll expand upon it later. But the thing is, a lot of card shops are not operating on margins that will allow them to do grand renovations. So they won't even have the opportunity to try to cater to whatever Fanatics wants to do. And also another point that was made in that Sports Card Radio video that is accurate is that Michael Rubin in the past has talked about retail. And one of the things he's talked about is retail, is the vision of retail, where in reality, there'll probably be less stores. That's something he has said in the past about retail. And the reality is that totally is part of the model. That's always been the case. So having less shops that have access to the allocation is going to put some shops out of business just because they're not going to physically have access to product and they don't have enough singles to carry them. Whereas a Burbank operates on singles that happens to have boxes. It's a different configuration. I think the ones that are more capable of housing singles will probably have an easier time surviving in that modified environment. Just some food for thought. Some things to think about that maybe we can discuss at more length, maybe on Friday, things like that. But like I said, I think it was a worthy video. Go ahead, Brandon.
I don't want to interrupt, but before we cut it off, I got to give a shout out to Rick. Like you all know Rick, the Rick.
The Rick. I was going to say the Rick.
And as we're closing out, my phone goes off, and I just got an eBay sale. And shout out to all the wrestling fans if you've made it this far. I just sold The Rock.
He's got a bone crunching rock.
Yeah, that thing's been there a while. I think it's like a stuffed animal. I've had it for a while. That's why I was surprised, but I thought it was funny because it was The Rock, the wrestling. We didn't talk no wrestling tonight. And we haven't gave no props and shout outs to the man, Rick. We gotta give
It has
Rick
been a while
some
since
shout
we
out, right?
discussed the story of Rick. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's true.
The legend of Rick
Lives on. But yes, so like I said, I'll include a link to everything we talked about. I'll include a link to the Rattle Pokemon video. I'll include a link to the Dagreenshiz. Again, look, it's a different name.
If
I'll
you
give you
got
that.
green
Look,
shiz, you might have a problem.
that's the name he goes by. So I'm not, again, no judgment. I'll include a link to that video where he shows off the card in question and talks about it, so you'll have it as background if you want. And then I'll include a link to the Beckett thing if you want to check out 2425 Upper Deck flagship. Be very excited. You can anticipate it this far in advance. And if I find it, I'll include the Sports Car Radio video from earlier today, where, again, in 8 minutes, I actually thought, again, the fact that he actually went to Burbank and actually had a chat with Rob Veras as part of the video, I think added something to it. And I actually think it was a good piece to add. That's why I'm bringing it to your attention. I think it's might be worthy. It's worth a couple of your minutes of your time, because Rob Veras did have a couple of interesting things to say in a relatively short video, a couple of clippets that were included in there. So I think that might be worthwhile for you to check out. So that's it for us. More videos coming up on the channel. Live streams on Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The longest running episodic, whatever it is. Someday we'll figure it out. I don't know. I still don't know what it is. But you can go to Sanderson.or on Instagram and send all your complaints and hate mail, especially if you're angry at a lot of things that Brandon said tonight. He's being very scandalous. And if you want to send anger, you send it to Sanderson.or on Instagram. He will answer all of your correspondence with the love and respect for mankind that Eric always shows.
Appreciate you, Eric.
Middle finger emojis, but yeah, sure.
That's basically what I said.
Yeah.
You got Brandon, Baubles and Ball Cards, and 540 Flips, because he knows who that 540 Flips is. The secret identity of 540 Flips is known by Baubles and Ball Cards.
He's been MIA, though. He's been MIA.
Let him stay there.
Just saying. So now we have yet another mystery to solve as we move into the late spring and summer of 2024. We roll on. So that is it for us this time around. Thanks very much. We will catch you in the next one.